everybody, and welcome back to an Invisible and Invisible Illness Awareness Project. This week I wanted to share my own personal story with EoE, but I came across a video that I made a couple years ago, and I thought instead of re-recording it, I will just share that original video with you guys. I also thought it was kind of interesting to look back and see how much I've changed. But through the elimination diet, my EoE has been pretty much in remission since this video was made. There are times when I kind of push it and the symptoms will come back, but for the most part it's under control, so I feel like you're not really missing out on anything. The only thing is I'd like to try and separate these topics as much as possible. In this case, my EoE and ME seem to be very closely intertwined. Not all people with EoE deal with the same level of fatigue that I have, and not all people with ME deal with the same amount of food intolerances that I have. So it's not really fair to say that either one is entirely a symptom of the other. Of course, there are a lot of aspects where I know that was just EoE and that was just ME, but there is also a lot of it where it's so intertwined that I really can't separate it. So it's partially something of a package deal. Yeah. Hi. Because it's Eosinophilic Awareness Week, I wanted to share my story. I have eosinophilic esophagitis, and first of all, I want to say that it's incredible to be able to get in contact with other people dealing with the same thing through Facebook. When you're so isolated, physically, when you're so fatigued and dealing with such bad brain fog that you can't get out of bed, and emotionally when people just don't understand. It's so nice to be able to find people out there somewhere in the world dealing with the same thing, who understand, and being able to share your experience and give advice. So I wanted to share my story and make it as brief as possible. So first of all, I've always had trouble swallowing pills for as long as I can remember. I'm not sure exactly when I started choking. I think it must have been at least in high school, but I don't really remember specific incidents until 2010, when I was 20. And I remember my friends really freaking out when I would start choking. And normally I would do my best not to let anyone see. I kind of like try to contain it or get up and walk away if it's going to be too obvious. But at that point I was really calm about it because I knew that it was going to come back up. And everyone else was freaking out and I'm like, it's okay, it'll be fine, I'll be right back. And it wasn't until September 2013 that I was at a picnic and something actually got stuck. And again, I still thought it's okay, it'll come back up. So I would try to drink or eat something else, thinking it would push it down, and it was very firmly lodged, so that didn't work. But basically, if I didn't eat or drink anything, then I had about 90 minutes time until the saliva would fill up my esophagus and start cutting over into my airway. So I stayed at the picnic for another couple hours. I took the train home, which took another hour, and then basically 4 hours after it got stuck, I thought, okay, before I'm at home alone for the entire night and I still can't eat or drink anything, maybe I should go to the ER. So they made me wait until 8 o'clock the next morning, another 12 hours, to go in and endoscopically remove this piece of food. And then somebody told me that I just needed to chew more carefully, as if it were my fault, that I was just being stupid. And I did feel kind of ridiculous because I was the only person in this entire wing of the hospital under 90. And it wasn't until 6 weeks later when I had a checkup that the doctor said, no, the food doesn't go past your throat if it can't go all the way down normally. The reason it's happening is because you have esophagitis. But it was never really like a let's sit down and so this is what you have and here's some information. Like, I never really got any information like that. Over the years, I have tried a bunch of different antacids and PPIs, protein pump inhibitors, and I wasn't able to tolerate any of them. But in April 2015, I ended up in the hospital again for the same thing, only it was worse. I woke up during the procedure and started coughing blood, and they had to go back in and staple, and things were not looking good. And then in September, I was preparing for a move, so I said, let's do another checkup, and it looked like it still hadn't healed. Like it had just been damaged and like a war zone in there for years. And then I ended up getting another couple diagnoses. This time I did get like the information booklet for histamine intolerance and fructose malabsorption. So I created my little safe list, like cross-checking everything. And I was still so fatigued. I was just spending my days in bed. Basically only getting out of bed if I had to go buy groceries or go to a doctor's appointment. I wasn't able to work. I just had to go pick up these kids for like an hour every day, and that was so strenuous. Like, some days I would get up and just walking up the stairs would be enough to completely exhaust me. And some days I could barely get up out of bed. And I remember one day I sat on the edge of the bed for 30 minutes before I could actually get myself to stand up. And it was so frustrating because I'm like, this isn't living. I have no life. I'm living in Paris and I can't even go out. And I started to get really scared that at 26, I'm going to have to move back in with my family and be dependent for the rest of my life and not be able to do anything. So eventually I cut my diet down to just meat and carrots, and at that point everything worked. Like, suddenly I had so much energy, I was so alive. I was able to do anything I wanted, go nonstop all day, like, finally. But obviously the price of meat is not financially sustainable, and I was malnourished. And right when I first started this diet, I realized I had already lost 5 kilos. And that was also very scary for me because I finally learned to embrace the fact that I'm a curvy person, and it felt like I had lost part of my identity. So finally I ended up reintroducing a couple other foods, including I would eat like a can of coconut milk a day just to regain weight. Even though that meant I was going back to being confined to bed almost the entire day. And I really just, I wanted to stop having to deal with food, Like, if I could just cut food out, then maybe I could have a life. And then I came across total food intolerance, and it's like, right there, that's it, that's what I have. Beyond EoE, beyond histamine, beyond everything else, like, that's what sums it up. And I found some information about elemental feeds, and that's what I was looking for. My alternative to eating would be elemental feeds. But then there's people on these feeds who eventually develop intolerance to that too. If that seems kind of abrupt, like that's a weird place to stop, actually I mentioned an alternative sort of immunotherapy that I was doing in the original video, but I wanted to edit that out because I would like to address that in the future and really go into detail and do it justice, especially with the added knowledge that I have these past couple years. So please bear with me. That will be coming up soon. See you guys next week. Bye.